Hi, this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer of Community Culture Showcase. And one of my aims for this program has always been to promote the arts and culture of our coastal communities. And so it gives me a great pleasure to talk today with people from the New London Community Orchestra. And it's a local group that's involved with wonderful amateur musicians who bring you an assortment of wonderful kinds of music. And I have with me today both the musical conductor and director and also the president of the New London Community Orchestra. So, gentlemen, welcome to my program. I have Tom Clark and David Bradley. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about this, and I'm going to show everybody so they should all be aware, put it on your calendars, this wonderful June 4th upcoming event. This is when the orchestra plays for the community. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about this wonderful performance.
Okay. Yes, we're looking forward to providing a concert at the Crocker House Ballroom.
Okay.
It's in downtown New London. It's right off of State Street, although the address is 35 Union Street because it's the doors off to the side.
All righty.
But yeah, so it's 7 o'clock. That's a Thursday evening concert. So people can come in, have dinner, go to the concert. It's we're calling it our introduction to summer concert because it's June 4th. It's not officially
Summertime,
summer yet,
right.
but we're getting there. So we're sailing into summer.
Okay,
So
it's
we're
like
with
Westerly has the pops.
right. We're sailing into summer with the concert. We have a really exciting program for folks. Our music director David Bradley has come up with a selection that draws on, his how do you say this? Long time in music career,
Right,
Long time music
Yes,
career.
Sure.
Starting with a piece that he first conducted when he was how old, David? 9 years. 9 years old.
Okay, musical prodigy.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Tell us a little bit about the community orchestra, about how it got formed and who's in it, and if there are great aspiring musicians out there, is there a place for them perhaps at this community orchestra? So why don't you enlighten us a little bit about the group itself?
Yes, thank you. Good question. Yes, we're a community orchestra, which really means that it starts out as a place where local volunteer musicians get to come and play. I mean, that's essentially the reason for the orchestra. We get to come in and play. We rehearse weekly, and have fun doing it, of course.
Yes.
So it's different concept than, say, for instance, the professional orchestras. We have some wonderful professional orchestras in the area,
Sure.
especially the one that plays in London, the Eastern Connecticut Symphony
Right.
Orchestra. It's a different concept because it's people coming and playing just for the sheer fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
But so we started the orchestra in 2011, I think, was our first.
Okay, so it's relatively new. Okay, yep.
That was our first season.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken off. At first we had just strings players come and rehearse with us. Mitchell College was kind enough to provide us with some rehearsal space when we first got started.
Okay.
And now it's grown to be a larger orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And then that we have strings, winds, brass, and we're even hoping to have percussion for this upcoming concert. We're slowly growing, but it is not it's a somewhat different size orchestra than people may be used to hearing. Because if you go to the New York or Boston or even the Eastern Connecticut Symphony Orchestra, it's a fuller orchestra.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's not an orchestra though, because in the area of the actual classical era, when Mozart was playing and composing, the orchestra would more likely be the size of our orchestra now.
So how many players are we talking about?
We're up to like 38.
34 are going to perform.
34 for this concert.
Mostly still strings?
No strings, but we have strings and we have brass and we have trumpet player,
right?
trombones, oboe, clarinets, flutes. So
It's about you know what it is? It's actually the size of what today, when you go to a Broadway show and it's a musical, they're orchestras have been reduced to something like 35 players.
Yeah,
so.
you could consider it to be about the size of a theater orchestra as opposed to a symphony orchestra,
Right,
which is where you're
exactly.
talking 70 or 80 players.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're a just an orchestra or a theater orchestra, depending. If we were playing show tunes, we'd be a theater orchestra.
But you're actually playing classical pieces,
Classical,
is that it?
well, classical
Yes.
and pops.
Okay.
We do some pops, but
All right.
generally it's our most of our repertoire is classical music, but we do some pops.
And
as
how
well.
old are your musicians? Are they kids? Are they 90?
Good question. Yeah, we have. It's an interesting range because we have quite a few younger musicians that are with us. Folks that are young adults, recent college graduates that played all through school, high school, college, and then either lived here or came back to the area and wanted to keep playing. And so that's a big
Okay.
part of the function is to be a place. But we also
Right.
have some retired folks who play with us too, retired music teachers, several retired music teachers. David has had a long career as a music teacher in the Newport area. So we actually have a broad range of folks. We've had we have had a high school student or two come and play with us as well, if they're talented enough. And their teacher, thinks that's a good idea. If they're
So
ready,
they
if they're
come
ready
and they
for it.
actually audition for you?
No, actually,
really.
It's been by recommendation of the teacher.
Oh.
The teacher essentially. If the teachers know if they're ready for something.
And if I'm an adult and I want to, like I was saying before, I played the clarinet, not very well, I might add, but I did play for years the clarinet. So if I wanted to go back and play the clarinet, I would contact you, and do you audition me?
I'm putting your name down.
I'll have to go get another clarinet. Yeah, so is that how?
We'll fix you up.
Is that exact?
Well,
Actually,
we've had instances like that this year. We've expanded the orchestra, as I say, to in the mid-30s from, 25 or 27 last year. And several of these people that came in, learned about us by word of mouth.
Okay.
And they just show up at rehearsal, contact Tom generally. A couple of them contacted me directly. And of course, I was beating the bushes for some of the people too, to fill out the ranks, if you will.
And so we contact you, and it's, what's our best contact information? If people want to contact it,
would be on the website.
On the website?
Or calling Tom directly.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's the
sure, there
it is
NL
on the screen.
Community, there it is, communityorchestra.org or 860-608-1780. So if we have some budding musicians out there, studied probably in high school and college, want to go back to it, and basically still play orchestral music and playing largely classical music, and if you want to get back into that swing of stuff, to give you guys a call or get onto the website.
We'd love to talk to them.
All right. And is there a particular instrument that you're really looking for that?
David, what
Well,
would
we're
you say?
always looking for strings, although we're well represented in that department. But we did add 4 new string players this year.
Okay.
And once again, they just came and they sat in. And I asked them, do you feel comfortable, say, playing second violin? And, the young lady said, yeah, that's fine. Okay, take the second chair.
Right.
And she's in. It was that simple.
Okay.
We had a flute player came out of nowhere, and she said, I'm interested in playing. I said, well, come to a rehearsal and see if you can handle the music, if you're comfortable with it. Because
Right.
generally, adults are going to tell you, wow, I can't cut it, or gee, this is wonderful. And you know right away that they're going to gravitate to the group and become a part of it.
The flute player gets, and the others get to one of the points about the community orchestra, is that it's a resource for the community in a number of ways.
Right.
Not just, although it's very important, not just the music we play and for the public and the concerts, but a community like the greater New London, southeastern Connecticut area, having a community orchestra is a big help for the area. As a help, like for instance, when the flutists moved here because her husband had gotten a job at Electric Boat.
Right.
And having assets like a community orchestra helps organizations like Electric Boat, Pfizer, draw and keep good people.
I
Because
see.
the
Okay.
community's having assets like that. It makes it's a vital part. It's a vital community.
Sure.
We have these kinds of assets. We have places for people. A lot, it seems to go together. People that have engineering degrees, PhDs. For whatever reason,
Right.
it is true that they have played instruments.
We've had this
It
conversation.
is
Yes,
true that they
yes.
have played instruments.
Yes, and we've had
much
this
of their lives, yeah.
conversation because I always talk about my daughter who studied the cello starting in first grade, and I attest to her great ability to do mathematics, to the fact that she had to learn how to play, and she learned notes, and of course notes are fractions, and there's this incredible learning of a universal symbolic language, which is music, and math is very much a similar kind of thing.
It
So,
is true. Yeah.
you know, it's a wonderful thing to learn how to be able to play. And of course, we'll talk, I guess, a little bit more about your music program. Is the fact that our public schools are the first thing they cut out when there's a budget crunch is music and art, and that's a tremendous detriment to a child's education. Because I'm a firm believer, and I know you guys are as well, that music education is part of making a kid whole.
Right.
It's part of teaching them discipline, how to play and practice by yourself, and then you join a group, whether it be an orchestra or a band, and you learn you know, wonderful traits of human nature which have nothing to do with playing a music per se. So it's a kind of thing that you learn, and it becomes part of your personality. And there's really nothing like it. And you don't have to be a great musician to learn how to play music and to be a musician.
Right. You're giving my talk about music, our Music City Strings
Yes,
program.
yeah, no one. I'm a great advocate for it
Yes,
because I've seen it firsthand, and I myself was kind of forced by my parents to play an instrument for this very same reason. They thought, well, this makes you a kind of complete individual, and you'll learn all kinds of other things that have nothing to do with simply playing an instrument. And so my mother, you know, when I was a little kid, made me play an accordion, and then when I got older, I played in orchestras in junior high and high as a clarinet player. And then when we were in elementary school, we played recorders. You know, that's a kind of a common thing to teach kids.
That's a startup method.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my education, which was all provided by public schools. And my daughter's beginning education in a public school was also provided by the school. Then later, she seemed to have a really promising kind of musical potential. So we hooked her up with a pre-college system with the University of Hartford, which is renowned for that as well. So yes, music education, 5 stars.
Now, maybe I should
Now you
use
can
that
go
as an introduction
right
to,
into your music program for the kids.
Because we have a specific music program of free lessons for kids. I just wanted to say that the orchestra has been very generous, the members as a whole, in providing this, because when we first started, we just decided that we wanted to have another focus, you know, apart from what we're doing as far as providing music for the community. We wanted to have something, give back in a way to the community.
Sure.
So we decided that we would provide a program of free violin lessons, although we're hoping to add viola and cello. But right now it's violin free lessons for kids in the school system. We're lucky in that we're able to sort of leverage resources that we already have as a community orchestra, because we have tentacles out in the music world
Right.
that allows us to solicit instruments. We can have a way to get the word out, right? Because
Right.
all of our players, some of them have been playing for a good part of our lifetime, have friends who are also players and have friends of friends. So we have tentacles out into the music world that allow us to solicit instruments. And so we are able to provide for free instruments for
Right.
children. So that's a huge asset. So
Yes.
to be able to start up a program without a lot of huge startup costs. Sorry, I thought. Turn this off. Sorry about that. Without the startup cost is a big help, of course,
Yes.
to be
Yes.
able to do that. And so we're still soliciting instruments. So if anybody knows,
Right,
has
if there are any
any
musicians out there who aren't using their instruments, or know if your kid played an instrument and it's kind of collecting dust. I'm sorry I didn't know this earlier, because when my daughter, the cello player, at different points we had up to 3 cellos. And so we had them in the house collecting dust. So the very finest one we actually gave to her, even though she's not playing anymore. But maybe she'll join a community orchestra.
Sure, yeah.
She wasn't very good at the time, right? She had calluses on her fingers from playing that cello. So yeah, so if you have anybody out there who's has an instrument that's collecting dust, and it doesn't have to be a violin. Are you looking for anything else other than violins?
Right now we're just
Just
doing
looking for
violins.
violins,
Yeah, the
okay.
program is in its 3rd year, so it's still relatively new. So half, 3/4 full-size violins
Right.
we would be looking for sure. And we have
We're not looking for guitars.
No,
Okay, right, right.
Orchestra strings.
Orchestra
Yes,
strings.
yes, yes.
And we have 2 luthiers who are members of the orchestra. So we do maintenance, repair, setup of the instruments, which is usually required when you get a donated instrument.
Right.
Also, for no charge. So I'm a violin maker in London, and we
Yes.
have another violin maker who's over in Niantic, and so between the 2 of us, we were able to get the instruments up and ready for the kids and
Right.
into their hands. If they break something, then we just fix it. We don't have to send it to a shop.
Right, that
we're
makes
both,
it easier,
We're both
sure.
donating our time for that.
Yes.
So that's fun. So what we do, the specifics of the program, is that we have lessons for kids 2nd through 5th grade at the Regional Multicultural Magnet School, which is in downtown New London.
All righty.
Okay, and a program is now part of the after-school program, which is called Magnet Kingdom. So
okay.
children who go to that school have the option of being able to take lessons for free. The program right now, it's 12 to 14 kids that we offer lessons to. Some of them go faster than others, of course. That's the way it
Yes,
works with these kinds
sure,
of programs.
of
It's
course.
small group
Sure.
lessons. So we're having, we're in our 3rd year doing that. What we need to do is find a way to get a middle school program going as well, because right now we're 2 through 5, and somebody's in 5th grade. Where do they go? In New London and around there. Some of the surrounding schools have strings programs, but some of them don't, and New London
Right.
does not.
Right.
So we need to figure out a way to get a middle school program going. So we're working on that. We're
Right.
talking to some
And
folks
is it a
now.
matter of getting more people to donate their time, or is it a matter of carving out space during the school day, or what are the things that are the obstacles to getting this thing going?
It's finding somebody to collaborate with us,
Okay.
to tell you the truth. Somebody who has some extra space, for instance, and is able to provide it without having, without the space charges.
Right, right.
For a program like this, what helps us, helps us run the program at a minimal cost is that we're collaborating right now with the Regional Multicultural Magnet School, so they have the space.
Okay.
They have the space, so we're not paying rent for this,
Right.
and we're not paying for the instruments. What we pay for is some music, the materials, books,
Okay. Right.
and the teaching time, because we hire a professional teacher to come in and provide the
okay.
program. So the costs are the professional teacher and some of the music materials. We've had to buy a few music stands, but those are fairly minimal costs. And so because we're a community orchestra and we have access to the materials as far as instruments, and we're collaborating with the school, we're able to provide for the community a program that's at a small fraction of the cost
Right.
that one could anticipate for
Sure,
a program.
to have a full-time music
like
teacher
this,
there
right, yeah.
teaching. So your community orchestra members, they provide lessons for the kids? That's in addition to having a professional come in, or am
Some of our members do offer private lessons,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
independent of the orchestra.
I
They
see.
do that for a
Yes.
fee as the students come to them.
I see.
But yeah, some of our people are involved in that.
But the
Okay.
orchestra members are great in that they volunteered their time to come and help out with our program.
Okay.
Okay, because we have a teacher. There's generally one teacher giving small group lessons. It's a big help if he has some help in there to do that. With it may be tuning up the instruments to get the
Yes.
class
Yes,
going.
right,
If
of
that's
course.
that's a big
Yeah,
help
right,
to have
getting
somebody
a-
there
your
to
own
do
little
all
concert
that.
master, right,
to-
yes,
to
yes.
have because the kids at the elementary level is before the kids really have become adept at tuning their own violin. So
Right.
there need to be people there to help them.
Do
tune
you
the
start with them
instruments.
learning to read music, or do you do that kind of more of a Suzuki method where they actually kind of do it and then they learn from just watching and doing?
Yes, well, that's there is that two different methods going
Yes.
on in our present world now. We're not using the Suzuki method.
Okay.
We're starting them off with a book that has sheet music, so they're learning how to read music right off the bat.
Okay.
Which there are different philosophies about how to teach
Yes.
how to teach music, and
Yes.
people become very adamant. People anyway. There's a lot of discussion about what's
Well,
the right
yes,
way, but
yes.
that's the way that we're doing it.
Okay.
We're using the traditional method of having them learn to read music first. It's not that doesn't mean that they have to learn how to read music before they play a violin.
Right.
It's some of both, because you can get them in there and get them started on a book, and then get them started on playing the instrument. But it's like there's 4 strings. There are 4 strings, and what the strings are, what the sound of the open strings are, the E, A, D, and the G, and how many fingers are required to get
Right.
a D note on each string.
And to some extent, I guess you must show them where to place their fingers so that
There are methods and methods for that
Yeah,
too.
methods and methods,
yes,
right. So
yes.
you're working on getting them up and running, knowing what a violin is, what the parts of a violin is, where to place their fingers.
And I'm
how
sure
to
many
get-
of these children have no outside exposure to this. It isn't like they have in their house a violin, or that their parents are violinists or cellists or anything like that.
It's relatively rare now. In the old days when you had to make music for yourself, more people made music for themselves. So nowadays in this electronic world, it's a lot easier to just push a button
Right.
and the music comes to you. You don't have to make it yourself. So relatively few homes, I think, unfortunately, have musicians already on hand that want to
Right.
pass that along.
Yeah. So we haven't had anybody so far that's really come from a musical background family that I know of anyway.
Okay.
But we've been immensely lucky in starting this program. From the beginning, the community has been very supportive. We have some small grants from organizations, like right off the bat, Charter Oak Federal Credit Union.
Okay.
When we contacted them, they were just immediately said yes, and have been a constant supporter since the beginning. And the Community Foundation of
Right.
Eastern Connecticut has been a great supporter.
And if people are listening to this and want to make donations, you are a nonprofit organization.
We are a 501c3.
So they can definitely contact you at the nlcommunityorchestra.org, and they can find out about making a donation, whether it be an actual instrument, like a violin, or money.
funds, yeah,
You
funds,
take checks and cash.
We took checks and cash. Yes, we actually even have like a button, like most organizations on the website, that allows people
Okay,
to
donate
people
right
to donate
online. Oh, definitely.
online. Most
Okay.
organizations have that these days, and we do as well for sure. So it's been great seeing it get going. It's a lot of fun for all of us involved. It's wonderful to be able to come in and see kids that walk in and have no idea what a violin is,
Right.
and then 5 months later they're coming in and playing songs and even in tune and excited about it. It's a lot of fun. And
Do they have a concert that they put on for the school or anything like that?
We're calling them performance parties. Yes, at the end of the year
okay.
we'll do a performance party. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but it all wouldn't have been possible without the great help that we've had of orchestra members, places like Pfizer too. Because all the great organizations that have helped us. The church where we rehearse. We've had a wonderful sort of supportive community around us to help us get going as
And it's a two-way street.
as
Our
an
community
orchestra.
outreach is being reciprocated by so many of the businesses and the charitable people in New London.
Yeah, we rehearse at St. James Church in downtown New London,
Okay.
and they provide this rehearsal space for us. So it's all been it's wonderful how you see people respond when people recognize the need for these kinds of programs. So
And your orchestra members, their involvement with the children, has that continued? So as soon as they become an orchestra member, you tell them that you're looking for some help at
we
school?
do, right? Yeah. So we try to get the word out through the orchestra that we have openings. Right now we could use a volunteer on Mondays from at 4 o'clock, for instance, right?
Okay,
Yeah. So
sure.
if anybody,
So
in
they
the
don't have to be
orchestra is
a,
listening,
don't have to be a community orchestra member, but if you're out there and you are a violinist, right? Is that what you're looking for?
violinist. Actually, one does not need to be a violinist
To help with the
to help with the kids, right? People
It helps to be a musician,
helps to be a
Yes,
musician,
but
yes,
but
you
I would
don't
certainly think that.
necessarily have to play a stringed instrument.
Right. Yeah, no,
Okay.
you don't have to. And we've had Connecticut College students come over and help out as well.
Right, right.
It's been.
They have a music program, do they?
Connecticut College, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They
Yeah,
have a
they have
a
an
music
orchestra.
department and,
Oh,
an
okay.
orchestra. So they have music majors there, and we had a wonderful young man, Ben, who would come over and help us out from Connecticut College. So
That's great. And did the kids continue? In other words, that you said they started, what was it, the second or third? Is it the second grade?
second grade, yes.
Yes, and
They-
they continue to go, through the third,
There's,
fourth.
yeah, so it's 2 through 5. We have had a couple, because we're in our third year, so we have had a couple who have gone through our program and then gone out of, sort of graduate out of the
Fifth grade, right?
out of the 5th grade, because the school there only goes through 5th grade.
Yes.
So, but we have heard back that they have the ones that really take to it. They have been finding ways to continue to
learn.
learn. Yeah, there's
Yes.
one wonderful young girl who is moved over to the Isaac School out of the regional multicultural magnet school. She moved to the Isaac School, which is a charter school, which is only about a block and a half away from the magnet
Right.
school there. And so she continued playing at the charter school, at the Isaac Charter School. They don't have a strings program per
Right.
se, but they have a music program, and so they're able to find a way to include her in their existing music program. So she's continuing to learn. So it's worked out, but we'd rather, of course, it's better if we had a dedicated strings program in Millen, and that's why we're working for it. And we think we're going to be able to start one in the fall.
Okay.
This coming fall.
With
yeah.
the middle school.
And for middle school kids, yeah,
Okay,
for middle school kids.
Definitely. Now,
Yeah.
does the school itself have, like the middle school and the high school, do they not have an orchestra or a band or something?
They do, and in London they have a band program. They
Okay.
don't have the orchestral
They-
orchestral
okay.
program, but they do have a band program, general music program.
See, that's why
and
my
London.
mother wanted me to play the clarinet. She said, what a versatile instrument.
true, it's true,
Right?
yeah.
Play in a band, you can be in the marching band when they play football. You can be in an orchestra. You can be in, do jazz, she said. That was my enticement, Here's an instrument that is absolutely versatile. So, yes. Absolutely. So I'm giving a plug for people who play in the clarinet. They should come and join your orchestra and get a little touch of a little bit of everything.
And we have a wonderful
We have two
clarinet.
very excellent
Yeah.
clarinetists. We
Yeah.
could use a bass clarinet on
Oh.
maybe 2 or 3 selections, but you don't need more than 2 ordinarily.
That's true.
And we got 2 good ones.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit more. Let's go back to the concert because we want to promote the concert. So, David, you are the musical director. Tell
That
us
is
a little
correct.
bit about you because you are an interesting guy.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I've been a musician practically all my life. I was learning to sing songs with my mother playing piano when I was just a child. And she got me into music by saying, you're going to play the cello or I'm going
Oh.
to break both of your arms.
Okay, there you
So,
go.
of course, I learned to play the cello, and we didn't have a string program in high school, so I taught myself to play the trombone, which I have since let slide. Did a
Yes,
bump.
yes.
And
Slide trombone.
then in
yeah, I got it.
college, they needed tuba players in the marching band, so I picked that up. So I'm
Oh.
at home in any bass clef instrument pretty much. But then I went on to college and got my bachelor's and master's in conducting performance. So this is right up my alley. I've been
Right.
waiting all my life for an opportunity
okay.
to have a group of my own, and here we are.
That's
So
wonderful.
we're
And
just-
you were a local guy, right?
I'm from Stonington.
Yes. Did I
Yeah.
read fifth generation or something?
That's correct. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
all right.
Great grandfather was a railroad man over there.
And so your mother was played the piano.
She played the piano, yeah, as did many people in those days.
Right.
You know, they took lessons because not everybody could afford a Victrola.
Right.
So we got the music gene from her. My dad couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, but she was quite musical. And all of us, there were 5 of us kids, we all play and we all sing.
That's wonderful.
And most of our kids do too now in the 3rd generation.
That is great. So you decided with some parental push to get into music, and then you were a music teacher though for many years.
That's right. I taught my entire career in Newport, Rhode Island, in just about every aspect of music education that there is. You know, and it was certified as qualified was the mantra over there. You didn't have to be a violin player to teach the violin.
Okay.
Nor did you have to be a vocalist to teach the chorus, but it certainly helped to be versatile, which was something that I was able to do throughout.
Right. And did you teach in elementary school or high school?
I did every level from pre-K all the way up to the university level at one time or another. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And so that was you were the conductor for bands and for orchestra?
I did a lot of assistant work,
Okay.
Especially during my graduate assistantship, and then you know, working towards my degree. I had a lot of stick time, shall we say?
Yeah. Yes.
And that was instrumental, no pun intended,
Yes.
in getting my degrees. And so the other groups that I've been in have either they've been choruses, both as a singer and as a conductor, and
okay.
bands, the same thing. But this is the first real orchestra that I've been in charge of.
So how did you and Tom meet that you decided, oh my goodness, this is what we want to do?
Well, that's really kind of a long story because I'm the second director of the orchestra.
Okay.
Okay. I came in and kind of filled a very large pair of shoes when our previous director left because of, you know, her time constraints were so huge. And the New London Day did a really nice piece about it, you know, that they didn't have to look any further for a replacement than in the orchestra itself. And I was the guy, so
Oh, interesting.
I've been at it ever since.
Our founding conductor was Joan Winters. She I mean, we wouldn't be an orchestra without Joan.
Okay.
She would, because we had talked about it among the various community of players in the area, but how does one begin a community orchestra without somebody who volunteers to come and be the conductor?
Of
And she's a
course.
wonderful, wonderful, talented musician. And she's the conductor, music director of the Waterford High School program, and she got us going, and she's our founding conductor, and will always be our founding conductor, for sure. So
That's
but
wonderful.
Just the time constraint got to be too much for her.
Yes, I guess. Yes, of course, of course. So you do one major concert a year? Is that the idea for
No,
the community?
two. The plan has been for two. One just before Christmas time, and then
okay.
another one here down toward the end of the spring semester.
All right.
And that's the one that we're working towards now. We have one other tune-up concert that we do, and this year, for the second time now, we'll perform at the Fairview Retirement Center in Groton. As a benefit for the residents there.
Okay.
And that's kind of a dress rehearsal for us, so that, you know, it's a must, but it's a pared down version of the big concert. It's more of a Pops version of the big concert.
Well, they have a lovely auditorium.
They do indeed,
'Cause
and
my
the
mom
interesting
was
thing
there.
is that
Yes.
we have about outgrown their stage, so it cuts both ways.
Yeah, you got too big for the auditorium. That's great. So let's talk about the June 4th event. It's going to be at 7 o'clock. I don't think you can really see this very well, and it's at the Crocker House, which, tell people where that is.
Crocker House, it's the Crocker House Ballroom. It's it's off of State Street in downtown New London. It's on Lower State Street, right across the street really from City Hall in New London.
Okay.
And the entrance door to the ballroom is on Union Street, so the address that you'll see posted is 35 Union Street in New London. So it's 7 o'clock.
Okay. And parking is easy?
June 4th. Parking is not easy. It's that in downtown New London, there are places to park, but
Okay.
it would be wrong of us to say that parking
Come
is
with a
easy.
carpool. Bring all your
Yes,
friends and relatives.
precisely,
One car, right?
yes.
Like movie time, you know, you fill up the car.
There are parking garages. There are
Okay.
parking. It's what, a 5-minute walk from the parking garage in
Okay.
New London. It's not that far.
Okay, and tell us a little bit. First, what we'd like to do maybe is to listen to a clip,
Yes,
a
that'd be great.
video clip, and tell us just a little bit about what this video clip is that we're going to show.
Well, this was from our Christmas concert And I'm not even sure what's on it. I haven't seen it yet, so
Okay.
I can't tell you very much. I'm going to see it for the very first time as it's shown now.
Okay.
Yeah, in our Christmas concert we had the orchestra performed, and we also had the Tile Middle School chorus play.
From Montville.
From Montville, yeah.
Oh,
perform
okay.
with us. So there's the orchestra, and then the middle school chorus
Oh,
playing
all right.
in the.
And where was it held?
At the Crocker House Ballroom as well.
Oh, the same place.
Yeah,
Okay,
venue, yes.
all right. So
We're
people
backed
got
by
familiar.
popular demand.
Backed by popular demand. Okay, and this the Crocker House is something where, what is it the rest of the time? I mean, it is a ballroom, but the rest of the time.
It is apartment. It's there's apartments in there. It's an
okay,
apartment building, but they have, as part of it, they've had a ballroom which they rent out. Oh, I think our daughter went there for a senior prom, for instance.
Oh,
So there's
okay.
a ballroom on the ground floor of this.
It's very elegant.
It's very elegant.
Okay,
ballroom,
reminds
yes,
me
yeah.
something. If you know, in downtown Norwich has one of these old kind of hotel apartments, and it had also a beautiful ballroom where they put on, I would assume, all kinds of concerts and things of that kind. So, all right, so we're looking for the video. We hope that, here we go. So, So why don't you share with us a little bit about what actually was being played at that particular concert?
Those clips were, the first one was the Radetzky March, which is an Austrian piece. It was written by Johann Strauss the Elder. And the interesting part about that is the audience was clapping during
Yes.
the music, and I was encouraging them to do so. The tradition in Europe during especially New Year's Eve concerts is to play that march and for the audience to participate in that way. And they're only supposed to clap on the loud parts and to hang back on the soft parts. So I was giving them the cues.
Okay.
And the part where the children were singing with us, we were performing the Solon Song, which is an old English beggar's tune.
Oh, okay.
The children used to go out and sing for treats at Christmas time. So it was very apropos for the season.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
And I think they finished with more Radetzky. A little bit of water music was in there too, the Handel water music, and then a little bit more Radetzky at the end.
Okay, so now, for the June 4th, what are we going to anticipate listening to?
Well, I have a very comprehensive list of pieces. I'm not going to go into a great deal about them, but to just give you an overview. But I have to put my glasses on.
Okay, understood.
I'm going to open with the national anthem. That's going to be a tradition with us. And then we're going to move on to the overture from HMS Pinafore, Gilbert and Sullivan. A piece by Ralph Vaughan Williams called Rosa Medra, which can be played by any number of different combinations of instruments, but we were fortunate enough to find one for the full orchestra.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. And then a piece called The Russian Sailor's Dance, which is a rousing theme and variations, very percussive and very, very exciting music. The Trumpeter's Lullaby, featuring my old college buddy, Rick Martone, and that's by Leroy Anderson. That's more in the Pops venue.
Okay.
And then we're going to have another overture at the end of the first half, and that's the Poet and Peasant Overture. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. After the intermission, we'll do the suite in Olden style, the Holberg Suite by Edvard Grieg. There's 5 movements in that, and that's for strings only. So we're going to show off our string section to very good purpose. Followed by the Concertino by Carl Marina von Weber, with Andrew Rybeck, our principal clarinetist, as the soloist. That's also a theme and variations. And then the final movement, our magnum opus for the spring, is the London Suite, also known as London Every Day, by Eric Coates, and that's a 20th century piece. It was written in 1931, and it's like a mini symphony, but it's very programmatic. It's like painting a picture with musical notes, and it's an extremely exciting piece. The orchestra absolutely loves it.
Great.
And so we're saving the best for the last.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I was going to tell you about the Poet and Peasant because Tom had mentioned before that I started conducting when I was age 9, and it was the Poet and Peasant that I was conducting to old 78 RPM records played on an antique wind-up Victrola.
Oh, wonderful.
And I had that by the Philadelphia Orchestra, I think it was, with Ormandy. And I had the thing memorized after innumerable, renditions.
Right.
And I could just wave the stick at the machine, and of course everybody came in just the way they were supposed to.
Exactly.
So
no
errors.
errors.
I don't even need a score to conduct that one, let me tell you.
That's great. Now, I always ask that when I have theater directors on, I always say to them, and theater producers, I say, what makes you make these choices? I mean, there is, the repertoire is dramatically big.
I am so glad you asked, because it's really a two-pronged affair. One is that I wanted to challenge the orchestra, to give them some music that they really had to chew on to keep busy for an entire semester, and to improve their playing and the orchestra's offering.
Right.
And then the other thing is you have to balance that by making it challenging but doable, meaning that perhaps you can have some fun doing it.
Okay.
And I think the orchestra is having an absolute ball this semester with the selections that I just enumerated. Nobody doesn't like anything, so to speak. It's like Sara Lee.
And how do you think the community is going to come in terms of interest in the pieces that you have?
The community at large, you mean our prospective audience?
Yes.
If the word gets out and people know the pieces, I'm sure they would be interested to come and see how we do them. The other part is you get people that say, well, here's an orchestra. I don't know what these pieces are that they're playing, but maybe I'll go and find out. So that's the educational aspect of it.
Right.
But the rewarding aspect is you either educate people or you entertain people.
Okay.
And
Now, go ahead.
So part of our mission is to have accessible classical music for the community.
Right,
we have a huge suggested donation of $5 for our concerts. So it allows people to come and find out that maybe don't know a lot about classical music, to come and find out what classical music is all about. That's really very much a part of what we're trying to do for the community, is sort of initiate some folks who haven't explored the world of classical music to come and find out about it, and so that helps grow the whole, what's the right word for it, market, helps grow the whole world of classical music for the community, because it's an important part of our culture.
The absence of having musical education has the ramifications years from now is there'll be no audiences for orchestras all over the country. I mean, that's one of the dangers if we don't kind of educate the children and their parents and their families to come and spend $5 and to hear classical music. Where are the orchestra, where are the audiences going to be for even some of the finest orchestras in the country?
Correct, and a lot of the orchestras are having, the
A
big
tough
city
time.
orchestras are having tough times because the audience has been sort of dwindling over the years. So it's an opportunity to help grow the charter of classical music as a whole, and to provide that as an opportunity. And so the more people we can draw into classical music and get them to enjoy it and then to love it, and then they will continue to come to our concerts and other concerts,
Yes,
perhaps
of course,
as well, to grow the whole enterprise of classical music as part of really what we want to do. So part of it is just how do you reach out to people to get them to know about your concert. Okay, so we're doing the typical kinds of publicity structures that one comes up with.
Right, a campaign, marketing campaign.
Right, marketing. We do our posters. We have a wonderful artist. So we have original artwork on our posters. Our violin player, Kate Brodowski, does the
now,
artwork.
The interesting thing about the posters, which we have not discussed, is there's a mermaid on the cover. So who's the mermaid and what's all that about?
She's our mascot.
Oh, okay.
And this was Katie's idea. Katie Brodowski, the artist. She plays in the first violin section, and she's a very fine artist and a very fine teacher, too. And she offered this up initially. I think we had a little tete-a-tete about a mascot or a logo, and the logo and mascot kind of combined to become the mermaid. And she's appeared now in at least a half a dozen different poses.
All these different, she does.
Yeah, and it's actually not the same mermaid either. We have a whole bevy of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one happens to play the clarinet.
Yes.
And in the past, we've had mermaids that played the violin and the cello.
Okay.
And she's not versatile. She's different. She's
Okay.
a different one every time.
Right.
And she's going to be serving another function
That's
for us
right.
at this upcoming concert, because she's going to allow us to have a Find the Mermaid hunt in advance of the concert. We're going to have some hidden mermaids that'll be about that, that large or so.
And
Laminated versions of the mermaid that we're going to tuck away in hiding spots in downtown London, near the Whale's Tail Monument section in downtown London, which is near the train station, across the
Yes,
street
of course,
from the
of
train
course.
station. It's just really 2 blocks away from where the Crocker House Ballroom is.
Sure.
So we're going to have a dozen or so mermaids out there for people to find, and so if somebody can find a mermaid the day of the concert, June
Yes.
4th, and
Yes.
shows up at the concert, they'll get free admission for their
Oh,
mermaid.
okay.
The
concert.
information will be printed right on the back of the mermaid's image, too.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now so where it's only for going to be that day you're going to
That
put them out.
day of the concert, right?
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
June the 4th.
June 4th, right?
All right, which is a Thursday.
Thursday evening. Yeah,
Yes,
so-
okay. And so people should just look around the fountain, come around and search for the fountain. And they're actually going to be paper, is that what I'm...
We're going to have the artwork, and then we're going to laminate it. So
Oh,
so
okay.
is what happens if it rains, for instance.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes,
So-
yes, of
So it'll be
course.
laminated, the cutouts of the mermaid.
It'll
So
be like
they-
an air freshener that you hang on the mirror of your
Oh,
car,
okay.
that
That kind
sort
of
of
thing,
thing.
right,
Yes,
yeah.
With
okay.
the image on one side and the information on the other.
Oh, okay. And you have about a dozen that you...
A dozen, yeah. It's just
Yes.
a fun, another fun way to
Yes, of course,
to
of
promote
course.
that. And then in subsequent concerts, we haven't decided which one. We'll have a Name the Mermaid contest at some point. We haven't
Sure,
decided. We haven't
sure.
decided yet
That's
on-
right,
on the
she's nameless
details-
as of now,
The
that's
details
right.
of how we'll do the Name the Mermaid contest, but we'll have that coming up at a future concert.
So the New London Community Orchestra's logo, I guess mascot, right, is then this mermaid.
Right.
And who came up with the idea of a mermaid?
It was Kate, the artist.
Okay,
yeah.
she decided that would be, given the fact that we're by the sea,
Exactly,
that we have a seafaring actual heritage.
We certainly do.
And that the images actually on many boats gave sailors the impression that they might be mermaids in the sea. I mean, I guess after being at sea for 30 days and not having anything to really eat well, you sort of hallucinate and think you see mermaids in the water.
Okay, yeah, going back to Odysseus, I guess, right? So yes, so we have the mermaid theme going. Actually, Kate did play, was the mermaid at the the East Lyme Light Parade. She dressed up as a mermaid, and we had a float and swoop. But it wasn't a very good night for poor Kate, though, because it was a cold, drizzling night, and she was playing the violin in the drizzle.
Not her good one.
Dressed up as a mermaid in the East Lyme
goodness.
Light Parade a couple years ago now.
Okay, all right. So again, we want to emphasize for people who are watching that there's the June 4th concert. And you're always, I'm sure, looking for donors to come forward to help provide with some money to help keep the show going, as well as for your really important effort to get music education into the New London Public Schools, and hopefully to move on to the next level from elementary school to middle school. So you're always looking for dollars to pay for instruments, to provide for the teacher, and to get music education back into the schools where they belong, because we have this shared idea, which I think is completely legitimate, is that music education is much more than simply teaching kids how to read music and to play an instrument. I mean, it gives a second grader who's, 7 or 8 years old, the kind of tools that make it possible for them to be productive citizens 20 years later.
It teaches teamwork and cooperation, as well as the musical skills.
That's right, and
Many facets of personality.
And I'm a great advocate for, and I guess there is some evidence of it, music and math that teach the kids at an early age an appreciation for fractions, and then from that having a universal language, which is what mathematics is. So for all those parents out there, to urge to make sure, even if you're not in the New London community, to make sure that your public schools have music education, that all the kids have an opportunity to learn music. And of course, you can see my gray hair is covered by hair dye, but once upon a time, when I was a little kid in school, in a public school, when we didn't have money for instruments like basses and cellos, they had us start out with recorders, something really inexpensive to get kids involved in music, to hear music, to kind of learn to read music. So it's a wonderful thing to champion.
And nothing wrong with a recorder. Those recorders are great. All sorts of instruments are great. To penny whistles, recorders, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get
We had
people
recorder
going.
solo at the Christmas concert, if you recall.
Okay, all right, great.
One of our oboe players also doubled on the recorder, so that's a grown-up instrument when you really learn how to play it.
That's right, that's right. We think of it as a kid's thing, but absolutely right. And I think one of the interesting things about musicians is that most of the time they're proficient in more than one instrument. Even if professional musicians, they have the one that they get paid for, and then the other one that they just sort of dabble in. I think that's just the nature of music. You conquer one and you want to conquer one again, another one. So as you can see, my enthusiasm for music education is like unlimited.
Unlimited, totally.
Unlimited, because I see the enormous value, and I worry about the fact that if we don't educate young kids and their parents today, who's going to be the audience for our future orchestras? I love opera music. I don't have anybody else who loves opera music. I mean, once upon a time, opera was peasant music. Now, at $250 a ticket, who goes to the opera? So it's all these things we're losing sight of, and I just think it's very important to get little kids to get involved in instruments. And, classical music, they don't always have to play classical music. It's just a start.
The orchestra at large is doing its part, too, with the outreach of presenting these concerts and hoping that people will come in off the street, watch your TV show, and listen to us, and show up on June 4th and get an evening worth of really, really nice music.
And I hope,
Well performed.
I assume maybe you get support from just for public releases and for just articles in our local newspapers, maybe the radio. You know.
All that, yeah, we do. We try to do as much of that as we possibly can. All of the press has given us great support.
Right.
We've been really, really lucky in the support we've had from the press and the radio stations, and as well as the foundations that support us for the Music City Strings program for free education for kids. But on the education part, I just want to say one other thing. It's like, for me, it comes down to a matter of just basic fairness, because now, in the world that we live in now, the urban schools have just so many fewer resources than many of our suburban schools out there that it gets to be a fundamental issue of just basic fairness.
Right.
How can we expect kids to grow up in a society and give us the best of themselves if we look the other way when we see that there's a fundamental disconnect between the resources in one world and on the other world? If we're looking the other way and expecting the best from these kids, we're making a big mistake there.
Right.
So it's a fundamental question of fairness and decency to do what we can to provide programs like instrumental music for kids when we can. If we can figure out a way to do it,
Right.
And we not only should, but we have to provide these kinds of programs for kids. It becomes just basic social justice.
Right.
You can't expect the best out of people if you just look the other way when you see a world that isn't working. That doesn't happen.
That's
So,
true. I mean,
yeah.
and it's not only music, it's internet, it's computers. I mean, it's a whole array of stuff.
Right.
But again, music is this universal language, and we all should be able to participate in it if we can. So I really want to thank my guests for telling us about this wonderful organization. The New London Community Orchestra teaches us, and it's great work with the public schools to get this whole foundation of music and the value of music, and to get the public to come on out. June 4th, very important. And again, website, nlcommunityorchestra.org. Everybody should know about that. And I also want to give a little plug for some activity we're doing here at the studio. SEC TV, as many of you may or may not know, is a nonprofit organization. And we're very much interested not only in music, but in art. And we know that there is always a need for our local artists to have an opportunity to display their work. So we here at SEC TV want to take that up, and we're going to become a kind of like art gallery. And we're going to have a wonderful show on June 18th. It's our art opening, so we're looking for the public to come on out for us, and also for the artists out there who are hearing this, or from friends of friends. We're looking for your artwork to display, and we'd be happy to sell it. So again, our event is on June 18th. We're having an art opening right here at the SEC TV studios in Groton at the Groton Shoppers Plaza. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to have entertainment. I've asked the Thread City String Band to come back, and they perform for us. They have been guests on my show. So again, we're looking forward. June is going to be busting out all over. So we look forward. Don't forget, June 4th, New London Community Orchestra. June 18th, come to SEC TV Studios for an art exhibition. Again, this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer of Community Culture Showcase. Thank you for viewing us.